It was an honor and a pleasure to have spoken at this year's Empowering the Innocent conference, which focused on women on false allegations and wrongful convictions. This video is my summation of the key themes and discussions from that powerful and thought-provoking event. The conference brought together a diverse panel of women, including advocates and those directly impacted, to shed light on the often overlooked issue of false allegations and wrongful convictions. Through personal testimony, legal insight, and rigorous discussion, the event explored the complexities of justice and the urgent need for systemic reform. Whether you are a legal professional, activist, student, or someone who cares about truth and justice, the summation offers critical perspectives that challenge assumptions and call for deeper understanding. Opening the conference was Margaret Gardner, whose husband was falsely accused and tragically died in prison. She shared a heartbreaking story. This deeply personal experience led her to found FASO, False Allegations Support Organization. For over 20 years, the organization has provided vital support to countless individuals and families affected by false allegations, guiding them through these devastating experiences. The next speaker was Liz Yeld, who also spoke as a secondary victim of a false accusation, an experience that shattered what had once been a close and loving family. She urged the audience to approach such cases with open-mindedness and cautioned against the fallibility of memory, emphasizing the importance of incorporating memory science into trials, particularly those involving historical allegations. She recommended reading The Secret of Brain by Richard Webster as an eye-opening exploration of these complex issues. I was the next speaker, but rather than summarizing my talk here, I have included the full speech at the end of this video so you can hear it in its entirety and draw your own conclusions. The second part of the morning was dedicated to the post office scandal, with moving testimonies from victims and survivors Seema Misra and Janet Skinner. Seema Misra shared the devastating journey she and her husband faced, a young, hopeful couple who had come to the UK from India and secured prestigious positions in the finance sector. Their lives were turned upside down by a decision that will bring unimaginable trauma not only to them but to their children as well. While serving a wrongful prison sentence, Seema was pregnant with her second child, who spent part of that sentence in her womb. She gave birth in hospital wearing an ankle tag, a moment that starkly underscored the indignity and injustice of her ordeal. Janet Skinner also shared the profound and lasting impact of her wrongful conviction, an experience that continues to affect her daily. The immense stress she endured led to a complete collapse of her immune system, forcing her to relearn how to live and manage even the most basic aspects of day-to-day life.
It tears your life apart. I mean, 2007 was the prison sentence. I lost my house. Came out of prison, didn't get a job because I had an ankle tag on for about 5 months. And then 2008, I had another court hearing. It came after me for proceeds of crime, and I was summoned to court. I was arrested, put in cells for the day. I was looking at a 5-year prison sentence for non-payment of compensation to the post office. Went through numerous court hearings and finally accepted that I just didn't have any money. And 10 days after it concluded, I was admitted into hospital. I had an infection on the spinal cord. My immune system had broken down due to the stress, and I was paralysed from the neck down, and I was told I would never walk again. It's taken me a long time to work, to learn to walk, to learn to adapt to things that I can't do. It's affected everything in my life. I've never been able to work again. I spent obviously 3 months in prison, 4 months in hospital. So I mean, going to hospital was again like going back to prison because I was dependent on other people. And I had my own independence taken away from me. You grew up with this stigma, people pointing fingers at you.
Jane Metcalfe spoke as an advocate for Robin Garbutt, a former sub-postmaster who was convicted in 2011 of murdering his wife, Diana. He is currently serving a life sentence. In March 2010, Diana was found dead in their flat above the village post office. Robin claimed that a masked intruder had held him at gunpoint, forced him to open the safe and stolen £16,000. He said he discovered his wife's body shortly after. However, the prosecution argued that the robbery was staged to conceal the murder, allegedly driven by financial and marital pressures. Evidence included discrepancies in cash handling, drawn in part from the post office now discredited Horizon IT system. No physical evidence directly linking Robin to the crime was ever found. The afternoon session began with Nicky Rowley speaking as a member of the Jeremy Bamber Innocence Campaign, JBIC. She addressed the well-known case involving the deaths of Bamber's entire family at the Wye House farm near Tolshant Darcy in Essex. Nicky focused on the deeply flawed police investigation, which the campaign team argued was influenced by members of the Bamber family who had a vested interest in his conviction. The campaign team has alleged that Essex police suppressed crucial evidence, including a 999 call made from inside the farmhouse at a time when Bamber was reportedly already outside with police. This call challenges the official timeline and suggests someone inside the house was still alive. Further concerns were raised over a police statement attributed to an officer who later denied authoring it, casting doubt on the integrity of the investigative process. In May 2023, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC, ruled that Essex Police had breached their statutory duty for failing to refer 29 serious complaints connected to the case. A renewed application to the CCRC remains under consideration. Dr. Ellen Storm shared her concerns and doubts about the Lucy Lebby case, speaking from her perspective as a medical doctor. She highlighted the complex ethical and professional dilemmas faced by whistleblowers in clinical settings. Drawing on her own experience, Dr. Storm described the personal and professional consequences of speaking out, claiming that the response she received was retaliatory, designed to create smoke screens and intimidate her into silence. She argued that the doubts and concerns raised by the Lebbys trial must be addressed not only for moral and ethical reasons, but because public trust in both the judicial and medical systems depends on our confidence in their ability to protect and serve us when it matters most. The afternoon session concluded with a powerful and moving speech by Ava Vidal, whose diverse background as a former prison officer who also studied law and a comedian brought a unique perspective to the discussion. She spoke candidly about the emotional torment she endured following the tragic and premature death of her young daughter. In the midst of her grief, an acquaintance made a false sexual allegation against her. While the accusation did not result in criminal charges, it caused immense personal pain. Ava used her experience to highlight that false accusations can and do happen, and stressed the importance of not making assumptions based solely on gender. Her message was a call for truth, fairness, and balance in how such serious claims are handled. Felicity Stryjack, brilliant chair and moderator of the conference, concluded with a personal perspective as a mother of sons who have faced false allegations of what it is now legally recognized as coercive control within family dynamics. While she made it clear that genuine domestic abuse must continue to be rightly identified, she cautioned against conflating this serious issue with what is often simply the natural persuasive behaviors common in close family relationships, tactics that many of us use as part of everyday human interaction. Felicity is currently compiling a compelling set of statistics on this topic, though she's wisely holding off on releasing any preliminary data until it is fully verified. We thank her for her invaluable contributions to this important conversation and look forward to hearing from her more. It wouldn't be right to conclude without mentioning that all of this was made possible, of course, thanks to the incredible Michael Naughton, whose decades-long dedication to addressing wrongful convictions is both invaluable and widely recognized. Heartfelt thanks go to him and his students, who were gracious, attentive, and kind hosts throughout. I'd also like to thank Sean B.W. Parker for making the right introductions and for his striking portrait of Lucy Lebby and Jeremy Bamber, which helped create a truly eye-catching thumbnail. Now I leave you with my speech. Feel free to draw your own conclusions. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Most importantly, join the conversation by leaving your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you.
Tortura. Does anybody know what this word means? It's an Italian word. No. No, please tell us. Turtle dove. A gentle bird, a sign of summer. But for many Italians, that word has a completely different meaning. Enzo Tortora was a beloved television presenter in Italy, a trusted voice in millions of homes in Italy in the 70s. Respected, admired, yet by a cruel twist of fate, Tortora was also the name of a mafia boss. That single tragic coincidence was enough to set off a chain of events that destroyed a man's life. Doherty was paraded like a criminal, was wrongfully accused and convicted on fabricated evidence. Though he was eventually exonerated, it came too late. He died no longer after being exonerated, at only 59 years old. I was only 16, and I remember watching this injustice unfold with disbelief. How could a justice system so completely collapse under the weight of assumption and public hysteria? Well, that question led me to study law. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna. I come from Italy. I'm an Italian lawyer and a British lawyer. It's hard to describe what an honor it is for me to be here among people who understand that justice is not about law or verdicts. It's about people, real people. What really gives me the authority to be here today and speak to you about wrongful conviction Well, let me tell you from the beginning, I am not and I do not claim to be an expert in this very complex subject. But I tell you what, I know exactly what it is like to live through a false accusation. My husband, that's him. That's how he saw himself in a drawn behind bars. He was not accused of sexual offence, but he was convicted as a result of a botched private prosecution. There are here some people here from the post office, you understand private prosecution and how it works. No matter the nature, a false allegation destroys you. A false allegation is profoundly self-destructive, but it consumes you. He spent 9 months behind bars for a crime he did not commit. And PTSD became a silent member of our home. To this date, my 11-year-old son, every evening at dusk, he asked me, is Dad going to come back tonight? That is the weight of all nights Dad never come back. He was only 5 then. And when everything was over and we tried to pick up our lives from where we left, we had to face the harsh reality. You see, before all of this happened, we were trying to adopt a child. But after this, we were discouraged from doing this. The trauma we endured had now made and marked us as unfit to adopt. That was the day my fight against wrongful conviction began. But that is a story for another day. Today we are here because something has gone terribly wrong. People, good people, have been torn from their families, their name destroyed, stripped of their dignity, and forced to bear the unbearable weight of a lie. Wrongful convictions and false allegations don't just break individuals. They fracture families, destroy trust, and shake our collective belief in fairness, truth, and justice. Some of us in this room have lived that nightmare. Others have stood by those who did. But I believe we're here today because we think silence is no longer an option. Today is about speaking up. It's about truth, and it's not a coincidence that the non-profit organization I co-founded and I ran with Barbara, who is here today, is called Spoken Injustice. The name itself is a response, a challenge to the silence that for far too long defined my life and the life of many of you here today. So today it's about finding a way forward together. Our mission is to humanize the criminal justice system. Now, humanize in this context is actually an acronym. It means something much deeper, but I'm not going to go into all the details of it. Instead, I encourage you to watch my video on our YouTube channel where I break down all that. But in short, it means that when the criminal justice system gets it wrong, it doesn't just make a legal error. It causes real harm to real people. That harm can ripple generations. We are not just advocating for change in laws and policy. We are calling for a change in attitude and culture. We are calling for a criminal justice system that recognizes its human impact. That's what we are calling for. a system that takes responsibility for harming someone, and when it does, to actively work to repair that damage. Today, however, we're here to speak about sexual assault and false accusations. As a lawyer, and this might surprise you, a former prosecutor with 20-year plus experience, both here and in Italy, what first drew my attention was the apparent contradiction in the public narrative. On the one hand, we hear about countless of victims of sexual assault who never received justice. On the other, we hear from those who have been falsely accused. The two narratives don't seem to align, and that puzzled me. As a woman, I was initially alarmed by public narratives suggesting that sexual assaults and domestic abuse are almost exclusively perpetrated against women. I felt strongly about this and publicly displayed my disbelief in that. However, as I delved deeper into the issue, I came to realize, first, that sexual violence is not confined to any one gender. This realization was brought with reading the Victims Commissioner Report 2022, which revealed that 1 in 6 men experience sexual violence, and surely those figures are conservative. These findings were eye-opening and challenged my previous understanding of the issue. I also encountered a troubling paradox. On the one hand, we know that many gender victims do not come forward. They decide to stay silent out of fear, shame, deep mistrust in the system. This silence must mean that sexual violence is tragically underreported. But on the other hand, of those cases that do reach the public sphere, there are instances of false allegations, cases that have ruined lives and eroded trust. This means that false allegations are real, and their impact both on the falsely accused and on the public perception cannot be ignored. False accusations are not just a problem for the person they target. False accusations are a problem for everyone because they cast doubt over those who tell the truth. In that way, the harm caused by false accusations reaches both the falsely accused and the genuine victims. At first glance, the two realities may seem to contradict one another. How can sexual assault be underreported and be riddled with false allegations? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized they are not contradictions. They are two sides of the same systemic failure. We are failing genuine victims and we are failing falsely accused. If we are serious about tackling sexual violence, and we must be, we need to face this complexity. We have to hold two truths at once. That sexual assault is real and underreported, and false allegations happen and cause real harm. Only by recognizing both, we can begin to create a justice system that's fair, balanced, and just. What makes these cases so legally complex is the fact that they are happened in private, they generally don't have witnesses, and not forensic evidence either. Usually it comes to one person's word against another. We also know that people can lie. Out of fear, shame, self-preservation, malice, even pressure. Just as some victims stay silent, others make false claims out of the very same human reasons and emotions. These realities must shape how we handle the allegations and the defences in the criminal justice system. If we accept that deception is possible, and we have proof of it, then we must accept a hard and uncomfortable truth. Not every accusation is true, and not every denial is false. And just as not every claim for harm is genuine, any claim for innocence is either. The real challenge is discerning the truth fairly and compassionately without bias. Lying is psychologically complex, and in emotionally charged cases like sexual offences is even more. The truth is not easy to spot in those cases. That's why we must resist rushing to judgment. We must replace instinct with process and emotions with evidence. This isn't about taking sides. It's about creating a system that understands that truth can be hard to find, but we have a duty to search for it carefully and justly. Now, the government rightly recognised this and tasked the Law Commission to look into this matter. The Law Commission started the reform in December 2021 with a background paper in February 2022 and a consultation paper in 2023, which, as you know, closed in September that year. Final recommendations are expected in 2026. Now, while the Law Commission focused on underreporting and victims' challenges was necessary and important, we were extremely critical of the Law Commission for the near total focus on complainants, overlooking the serious impact of wrongful accusations. So we are told false accusations are rare. Well, first, there is no data available and reliable to support their claim. But even if they are, rarity does not equal irrelevance. It does not mean that these cases don't exist, and it certainly does not mean their impact is any less devastating. False accusations can ruin lives, leading to loss of careers, broken families, wrongful convictions, and lasting trauma. It's serious. That's why legal reform must be balanced, protecting victims, while also safeguarding the rights of the accused. These goals aren't mutually exclusive. We need fair, evidence-based procedures that account for the possibility of false claims. Justice cannot afford selective empathy. Fairness must apply to both sides. But how we achieve the balance between supporting victims and upholding fair trial rights without inadvertently doing a disservice to any? This is where I believe the conversation must begin, with honesty, with nuance, and with compassion. So that is why we have launched Your Voice Matters. Your Voice Matters is an inquiry led by Scholar of Injustice, and at its heart, it's a very simple but vital goal: to listen. We want to hear directly from those people who have experienced the criminal justice system in the context of sexual assault, whether their experience had been empowering or painful, whether they were defendants or complainants or even professionals. As part of this initiative, we're producing a podcast series which is set to air on our YouTube channel this autumn. The format is going to be with two individuals, two witnesses, sharing their perspective from opposite sides. The campaign is not about sensationalism. It's about understanding. Through these conversations, we hope to learn more about how the system operates, where it works, where it fails, and how it impacts real lives. We do already have a draft proposal, but I want you to know that this proposal is a starting point, not the end point. It will evolve as we listen, learn, and reflect on the voices we hear through this project. So bearing this in mind, here is our proposal. We propose a structured pre-charge, pre-prosecution inquiry for cases where the complainant had made a complaint and the other party has denied it. The goal is to enhance fairness, minimize early trauma, and prevent reputational damage in cases lacking objective evidence. This inquiry is not intended for all cases, but only for those cases where the allegation has been made by the complainant and denied by the other party, and the party's statement is the only evidence available. In other words, those cases based on one word against the other. The process is simple. It's going to be a private and neutral process. We envisaged a private inquiry led by an independent counsel, perhaps a retired judge, and both parties participate equally, not as accused or accuser. They can both submit evidence supporting their side, assisted by a legal representative if they choose. The approach is trauma-informed for both parties. The inquiry seeks to probe the accounts of both parties and uncover any additional supporting or refuting evidence. Depending on what emerges, there will be different outcomes. So if the inquiry uncovers sufficient additional evidence in support of the complainant, the case will go on to prosecution. If the inquiry does not uncover additional evidence, but the complainant's testimony has been thoroughly examined, remains internally consistent, and withstands scrutiny against the account of the other party, then the matter still can proceed to prosecution. However, in those cases, conviction is obviously less certain. Or if the inquiry does not uncover additional material and the claim has been sufficiently disputed by the other party and is still unsubstantiated, then the matter can either be closed or referred to civil, restorative, or informal pathways in resolutions, if appropriate. This proposal is not anti-complainant nor pro-defendant. It's pro-fairness. It supports legitimate complainants and protects individuals from unjust accusations. Importantly, it encourages evidence-based justice in a non-adversarial and trauma-informed setting. We believe this proposal creates a critical buffer in highly sensitive cases, providing a way forward that is fair, transparent, and respectful of anyone involved. If we want a justice system that truly delivers justice, we must build it together, grounded in truth, guided by fairness, and informed by people who have lived it. Us, our voice matters. Thank you.